I'm going to attempt to demystify the drum techniques of three of the most influential producers in electronic music: Burial, Boris Brejcha, and Solomun. Welcome to the art of drumming. We will run the clocks backwards. We are in 2007. The world was taken by storm by iPhone. And back in UK, another storm was happening, created by untrue album of Burial. The drums were especially loose and organic, and the patterns were reminders of old jungle and garage beats. The funny thing is, Burial actually used SoundForge for creating this album. SoundForge is not a DAW, and it's mostly used for sample editing, which was probably why the drums were so loose, because there were no real quantization. So to emulate this in Ableton, the first thing that we are going to do, right click and deactivate the fix grid. Burial also states that he didn't know how to use sequencers, so we will not use any drum kits. Everything will be us editing the audio. We will start with the kick. Burial again says that he is aiming for that fishbone with the kicks. Means that at the beginning of the sample you will see that initial thump, and then you will see a tail with the sub. So let's start with sampling things around. I think this will work for the kick. We will turn the warp off all the time. When we tune this down, the length of the sample will also extend. But this is like the thumb of the fishbone, so we need something under it to sustain the sub bass. Burial says that he sampled all of the sounds from PlayStation games. I'm gonna go one of my favorites, Silent Hill. Found this. So we have this. Tune this down. So more sub. Envelope on the pitch so that we can have rew. Of course we need a bit EQ. And now we need to put a bit volume automation to make them pass more into each other. And a bit limiting on the first one. Together. Now we are still missing that initial thump that Burial always had. Let's grab a stick sample from our recorded samples. I actually grabbed two. This is the first one. And the second one. And now. First thing is this snare hit that Burial always had, a pum. Let's tune this down. Send it to the reverb. And the Burial track is like bum da 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 pa bum da 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 pa. So it's somewhere around here, right? I'm a little bit off the grid, I don't care. You just need to put it the place that you like, leave it there. There are also back snares in Burial's track, so let's do that. Grab another sample. Now I have these different hits. I like this dun dun. There's two different tones there, it's perfect. So it's dun 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 pa. Let's get that tom, dum, 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 dum. Again from hits, this sound. Tune it down. Sounded like a tom. Let's cut these super highs. Dirty low tom. It's like da 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 dun. We start to feel the groove. And now we need this weird shakery sound. For that, I'm gonna go to my favorite Silent Hill game, Silent Hill 4 Room. Let's record that. Add of sample material. Same idea, chop chop pieces. Chop chop chop. Again, nothing is really on the grid together. Okay, let's sample that snare with another Silent Hill gunshot sound. It passes really nice as an ambient sound for the snare. Together. The other thing that Burial says, he used that ambient sounds just to cover up the lameness of his tunes, but it basically kind of acting as a glue between these different ambient sounds. This city noise, but we are lacking the crackle. You can actually use the vinyl distortion in Ableton to add the crackle. And see how this actually glues everything together. We need this kind of lo-fi sound in our drums. I'm going to group the percussions and add a vinyl distortion from Isotope. Going to the master and adding a preamp. Now the final step is sending a bit to the reverb all together so that we can glue everything. And if we add the Burial box on top of this, Almost half of the people who are watching these videos haven't subscribed to the channel yet. If you're enjoying the video, please consider giving a like to the video and subscribing to the channel. Now we will contrast the Burial's loose drums with Boris Brejcha's tight and groovy percussions. He tends to have these medium-sized thumpy kicks. And a lot of things in the track is such into this kick.
Every time when kick is coming, the bass line is going down, so the kick and the bass line fits much more together and have like a bigger impact. And actually I do it on a lot of channels. For drums I do it, for shakers I do it sometimes, also for pads, giving like a good vibration.
And the second thing is groovy percussions and hats. Everything is really quantized to the grid.
Wenn du 1/16 lässt, das hört sich so krass mechanisch an. Also klar, das ist halt Techno-Musik, aber dass es halt irgendwie so komplett gesetzt ist.
But you can do Control U, and then you can actually move things around a little bit, or you can actually also apply a groove afterwards. So let's say we will gonna apply this, like the Boris likes it. To make it even more interesting, I'm gonna make it polymetric. So pick a 3/4 of the loop, Control J, and then we're gonna loop this. His snares and claps always has these extra hits to keep the energy levels up all the time. Let's put a clap first. We are making it stereo with echo using house effect. But Boris Brejcha has these extras right and left all the time. Things like this. Now we have two more claps. They sound differently. The first one, pan to the left. The other one, longer, more ambient, pan to the right. Complementing this. Keeping it real energetic. While we are talking about the energy levels, another trick that Boris does is using white noise to excite the track. So everything is turned off, the only thing is the noise. The main trick is taking this velocity and putting on the cutoff, attack, and decay. So when you increase the velocity, it will increase the length and open the cutoff. You see that I'm increasing the velocity here. So longer, brighter, shorter, darker. If you do this in a track, it will kind of excite the track. Now we have to complement this with the hi-hats and the shakers. Let's put the hats first. Because we have a lot of elements in the mid-highs, these hi-hats are really bright. And again, of course, we are using groove pull to make it slightly offbeat. And now that means we can also use a bit slightly darker shakers without thinking too much about the mixing part. Much darker compared to the hat. And all together, we are really building this energy. And on top of this, there are some chopped organic percussions. Brejcha actually uses a lot of white noise risers. Here again, I have my serum patch, no sliders, but only white noise. And on the effects side, we have a bit chorister and reverb to make it a bit more ambience. And we see the cutoff filter opening up here. There is automation. And there's a shake, and that comes basically from having this LFO2 onto level. And final piece is actually a very Boris Brejcha thing, and so using return noise to keep everything more like a warehouse feel. So I have this return channel, so if you start sending things here, it will create this washy sound. An important thing here, of course, sidechaining this noise to the kicks so that we hear this breathing sound. So I'm not gonna go in and use compression because Brejcha says that he doesn't do it.
Also Kompressoren benutze ich eigentlich nur beim Mastering, weder beim Mixing noch beim Lied selber.
But what I'm going to do, create a parallel chain, which I think he does quite a bit. So I have this return channel for parallel processing. Here we have overdrive, reverb, EQ, and more drive. We send our drums here. So this channel injects a lot of distortion and splash into the original drums. So without this one, and with it, and all together, now we are going to replicate the drums of King of the Dance Floor, Solomun. As we are on the dance floor, we start with the kick 4 to the floor. In this case, I will also add the bass because bass is really important for making people dance. First we have the sub bass, really straightforward. And on top of that, color bass. Of course, we want it a bit groovier, so we'll have a plucky bass on top of this. And we have this plucky bass from Hive. The first thing is the clap, just to give us the tempo, but we need the organic claps for this. Using different claps to make it even more organic-y. Pan quite to the right, and then the same clap, but pan to the left. Together. So we have this beautiful stereo clap sound. So we will have one more clap on top of this. So if we duplicate this and take this off. And this one also in the middle, so it creates this really interesting contrast. You can actually move this clap around a little bit to give a bit more lagging feel. And then so it's a cool trick there. But more important than that, Solomun has this signature toms or organic drums or hand drums. Found this bongo sample. Of course, this is not something we can dance quite a bit, so we have to chop this around. And here we still follow this slightly off grid to give a bit more groovy feel. Together now. With the Solomun, you will see that there are a lot of attacks, a lot of chops from this congo, bongo, whatever tom sound that he is using. So I found a couple of more bongo loops. The first one, this. And here we have another feel. And then another one here. Another here. And together. As we have a lot of things going on the percussive side, the high end tends to be a bit more simpler for the Solomun tracks. Basic hi-hat. And a really closed hat on top of that. Deviating slightly from the offbeat side and nice shaker loop under it. Together. And on top of this you will find some random ambient hits to make everything a bit more glued all together. With nice ambient reverb together. And of course we have to send all these percussions and drums to the reverb, make them sit in the same room. Indeed, I have two rooms here, one is bigger, that I'm sending claps and so on. The second one is for the bongos to put them inside the same room. And the slide hats. They come together beautifully. And if we add the synths on top of that, they sound like this.